What's up, people? Welcome to this week's episode of the Indian Doctor Podcast. I am joined this week alongside Karan with a special guest. It's been a while since you've had a guest. However, his name is Barinderjit, but we're going to refer to him as Bare because he is from up north, far up north. He's from the Geordie side of the UK. He's got a huge passion for running, which goes bang in line with his with the name of his Instagram, which is Usain Bolt. So I was very impressed with that. So we'll definitely catch up on that in a couple of seconds. And he's also a guy who's just based around fundraising for good causes, volunteering for charities, and just overall a decent top guy. So Barry, how you doing? Welcome to the show, man.
I'm good. Thank you very much for that introduction, Indy.
No problem, man. This is all your words. I just summed it up. I don't do anything special.
It's quite succinct, actually, Bazza. So sometimes we get guests who either have like one line introduction and the Indy really has to make it magical. And kind of like in Friends, where Joey has to write that letter of recommendation and he adds all these flowery words, use the touch. Sometimes Indy has to do that, right?
Yeah.
Or you get people who give like the CV and you're like, mate, I need the headlines.
Yeah, that's it.
I just need the headlines. Like what do you do in one sentence, please? Like, so yours was bang on, and I guess it's really varied, Bazza. So just tell us a little bit about your journey into all these things, man. Because when I met you, it just seems like you do something, you have an experience, and you go, "Oh, that was good. Now I'm gonna try this thing. And that was good." And then we all at the Gurdwara, that's how me and Bazza know each other, Indy, from the Gurdwara scene, as it were. We've been involved in teaching, essentially. I don't know how long I've known you now. It's been a good number of years, though.
It's good, at least 10 years, possibly even more. Thinking of
wow,
yeah.
I can't remember the first time I met you, but it would have been one of those types of things. And and then when we get together after long periods of time, it's like, so what have you been up to? And then we all sit there and like take notes, like, oh, Barry's done this, Barry's done this. This is what we learned from this. But the most fond memory, Indy, I have of Barry to this day is. So we'll touch upon obviously his running, right? But it doesn't matter the weather. This is the key thing about this man, yeah. I have been driving in the rain with the wipers on the third setting.
Oh, that big one. Yeah.
Right, like just constant, like whatever. And he's there in t-shirt and shorts, just running like Forrest Gump Singh, Usain Singh Bolt. He's like this fusion of both of them, and that image is in my head. I was like, this is a guy who's like, if I'm gonna run, man.
Does he wear leggings though? Do you wear leggings, Barry?
No, it's always shorts and t-shirts.
No, I got to do the leggings flex, man.
Yeah, I think it's because obviously, like you mentioned, as a northerner.
Oh, true. You're used to the harsh conditions. Yeah,
used to harsh conditions, so it's like I've run in like -10 shorts and t-shirts.
-10. When did you run? It was -10. Bloody hell!
A few years ago, it hit -10 here.
Okay.
It wasn't too icy, but it was just very, very cold.
You can imagine.
I came back home and I'm not joking, there's icicles in my beard.
Oh my god, your body was frozen.
I've got a picture somewhere where you can see like my beard is frozen.
Oh, okay. And on say like a day like that, Bazza, so it's obviously cold outside. It's not really conducive to running. Would you not stay in and do like say on a treadmill or go to a gym? Like would you ever use an alternative, or it always has to be if I'm going to run, I'm going to run?
I mean, the first thing is I've not always enjoyed running. I've never used to hit a kid. When I was growing up in Gait, we used to have to do the Junior Great North Run, which I
used to have to do it.
For 2 years it was compulsory.
What age is this we're talking?
First year I did it was 10, the second year would have been 11. So you in like upper juniors in effect.
Okay, before secondary school. Okay.
Of course, just the last 2 years before you went to secondary school. When you got to secondary school, it was compulsory, so most of us didn't do it because we didn't like it. And then you did cross country, and I hated it.
Cross country, hated that too.
Hated cross country, and then when I decided I wanted to at least do one half marathon.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. Can I start on the treadmill? Because I'm very self-conscious about running outside.
So I thought, no, but why? Why did you want to do the half marathon? Personal challenge? You want to get into shape? What prove it to somebody else? What was the impetus to do it?
I think it was a mixed thing. I was lucky when I grew up in Newcastle. The Great Northern just on. Great Northern's a very iconic race now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Marathon in the world. So I used to go down by the Tyne Bridge and stand by the Tyne Bridge and watch these incredible runners. And I've always been fascinated by the philosophy of men and women that can run distances fast. They can jump so high. They can jump so far. They can throw things this far. Although I've personally been athletic, so athletics has always been something I've been passionate about. And there's like, if I'm going to run a half marathon and do it for a good cause, then the Great North Run is going to be the one I'm doing it. I think if you watch these races on TV, and when I used to go, you look at people running and you think they don't really look that different to me. In fact, in fairness, some of them don't look in as good shape as I think I am. On the think I am. And so, if they put that hard work in, then there must be a benefit to it. And I think a lot of runners, it is for good causes. It's,
that's interesting. So it's not the running per se, because so I had this debate often with my friends, Baz, and it's like, as we get older, metabolism slows down, so you need to put more effort into doing exercise, right? I mean, I say this to my patients all the time, and it's like, well, I'd rather play 2 hours of badminton when I'm running around. It's competitive. Thing on running, like it's just I can't. I don't know how people enjoy running. That's why I want to ask you, like, how do you get into the enjoyment of running? What is the pleasure?
When I've treadmill running, I didn't mind too much because you can just sort of switch the machine off, and it's treadmill isn't as challenging.
All the safety cord.
Just I've had enough. I'm off now. But I wouldn't say I enjoyed it to begin with, because I was running for charity. That was probably the only thing that kept me wanting to do it. If I wasn't doing it for a good cause, I genuinely believe I wouldn't have carried on with attempting a half marathon. But I think the reason I got so much into it, once I got to a better level, it's the freedom, and it's my time, it's my space. It's to get out there, and I can forget about everything that's happening in the world. I can forget about, like, I can just enjoy the freedom. I can enjoy the silence if I find a quiet route. And I think it's about control. It's the fact that I think it's very important that, because we're so pressured by social media, particularly in the last 10 years, we're so easily influenced. We let too many things to get to us. That if you're a runner, or if you're a cyclist, or if you're a swimmer, if you do an individual sport, you still have that ability to control it yourself. And that's one thing we have less and less of. So for me, it's just to go out, and nobody can judge what I do. Nobody's in my ear telling me how I should do it. I just do what I personally think is right. So if I'm doing a run and I think to myself, I don't want to run as far as I planned, no, I don't run as far as I planned.
So that's the control element.
That's the control.
And I like what you're saying. Yeah,
and it's the freedom.
That's a big word when you say freedom. Yeah, what's the freedom?
It's like I could go out. I've started off on routes thinking I'm going to run along the Broadway, which I think actually no, I'm going to turn left here.
Yeah,
I'm going to still do the distance I planned.
Yeah,
turn left here. And then when I get to I'm going to turn.
So the spontaneity of that excites you.
It's up to me what I do.
So again, the control. But there's control, there's planning, but then within that, you've got this element of I can do what I want. And
exactly what you said. I could plan a route while I'm on that route. I can think to myself, you know what? When I do that route, I can do what I want.
And how does that make you feel?
And I think that it feels good. It feels empowered. It makes you realize actually I can take control of anything in my life if I want to. In my running.
Do you find you have crossover then? Does that help you, that feeling of empowerment? Does it cross over into other elements of your life?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm out running, I'll think about things that happen at work or in personal life. I'll use it to analyze and to think, clear my head. Sometimes I just do NAM seminar. It's my opportunity to review anything and everything I want. And
interesting.
It's a moment of clarity as well. And then I can sort of think, okay, I'll make a decision about something, and this is what I'm going to do now. This is how I'm going to approach something.
Oh wow, it's like that real time. I guess what you're talking to there is kind of what I do with journaling. It's kind of dumping what's in my head to try and find some clarity and sense, and or even just to feel better about whatever the situation was. Sometimes you don't actually get the solution, you just feel like I'm okay now. And it sounds like as you're running, you're doing mindfulness into your running type of way.
I think that's where I think that's, and it took me a long time to get there. If I was to be honest, because I've started blogging about this, my first race went quite well, the first half marathon. This is the pace I think I can run, and I actually nailed it. When I stepped up to a first marathon, I did every mistake you can make. Didn't train enough, went off too fast, wasn't hydrated, didn't have the right kit, and it was soul destroying when I got to the finish, because it was just like that was the worst thing ever. But somebody said to me, "Look, you might think it's the worst thing ever, but what you want to think is the positive. Is that you still had the strength when it was really, really bad to get to the finish. If you did train a bit better, if you did have the right kit, if you hadn't gone off as quick, how much better that will be." So I went back again. It still didn't go very well, but
this is the next one, but a little bit better.
Yeah, the first 5 or 6, I learned from all my first 5 or 6 marathons. None of them went according to plan, but they sort of grounded me. They were my learning, and everything after that became a little bit easier because it's like I can look at those first 6 marathons and think nothing will ever feel as bad as any of those did.
So you've almost set your reference point. It's like, well, this is the bottom.
Yeah.
And it can't get any worse.
Every mistake you can make, I've done in the first 6. So
right. And just for someone who doesn't run,
like me.
Me and Indy. Like, again, I won't do it like pure running. We'll do it in sports and things. But
yeah.
when you say mistakes, like, are you talking about using the wrong trainers? You're not carb loading? Like, what do you mean when you say mistakes?
So if I look at a person in the marathon, so you can get lots of training plans now. So I sort of got into it just before the internet boom, just before we were watching to broadband. So I was relying on running magazines, and I didn't really have any
Men's Health, the GQ.
Yeah. I didn't have running friends. I think that was the first thing I should have.
Running friends, my God.
So coming back to what you said, I didn't train enough. I didn't follow a training plan. So I didn't do the long runs. You should really be running up to 18, 20 miles before a marathon, which I didn't do.
A marathon just for is 26.3?
26.2.
26.2, right. So you should be running 20 miles
you should have each
at least day, or?
No, just once, at least 3 to 4 weeks, you should get 20 miles so you understand what
the distance is going to be. Yeah.
You never train the distance you're going to run in training, but you need to get to like 80% of it.
Why is that?
The thinking, I think, is that if you do a 20-mile run, see how you feel at the end of 20 miles. If you think, actually, I could have done another 4 or 5 pretty easily. Great place to be in. You might get the end of 20 miles and think, wow, I don't think I could have done 6 more. So it gives you that time. Just think, right, okay, if I tweak this and this and this, this is how I squeeze another 5 or 6 miles out of my body. Longest one I did before my first full marathon was 14, 15 miles, which isn't enough. It's barely over half a marathon.
Okay. So one was not doing enough miles.
Not enough training.
That was one mistake. Okay.
Second thing wasn't looking into the science of running trainers, although back then it wasn't as the big economy it is now.
Okay.
Just had a pair of trainers. I thought if they've got decent cushioning, they'll do. Big mistake.
Okay. Because?
Since a lot of running trainers sort of accommodate the way your foot lands. So the cushion.
Right, on the hard surface.
The gait, isn't it? It's the gait.
It's the gait analysis. So you can what they call overpronate. So you land too much on your instep. But you have shoes that will compensate for that, which helps.
And longer term, what is it? The harmful effects on your knees?
I was getting a lot of friction. My knees were giving me a lot of issues, which they did in the London Marathon as well. And one was because the way I was doing it, my left leg was bearing the brunt of my right leg. So I was
compensating. Okay.
Landing okay on my right leg, but my left leg was really bearing the brunt of it. So there was that. I didn't really carb load enough. That was the thing. And as I mentioned, the big mistake I made on the day was going off too fast because as I mentioned, I did the first half marathon quite well. I'd followed the tactic and it worked.
Right.
If I'd followed the same tactic, it'd have been okay. But when you see people around you go flying off, it's just like, yeah, I can do this as well. And I guess
at the marathon kind of level, I guess there are a subset of people who are like, I'm going to run. There's my time. I'm not really competing against anybody else. And I guess there are some athletes like I want to win the race as well.
Yeah.
So I guess sometimes you can be a bit like, yeah.
And I think that adrenaline of your first one, I think that's what got to me.
Okay.
I think since then, I don't look at anybody else because, like you said, it's such a long way to run that there's no point me looking. It's because everybody's trained in different ways. Everybody's got different abilities. What I can do is focus on myself because nobody's going to help me. Somebody might give me encouraging words, but ultimately, I'm going to have to take every single step on that 26.2 miles. So
when you do have marathons, Buzzer, is it commonplace or within marathon etiquette to walk during parts of it?
Yes, and I think that was the thing. People sometimes you have to walk.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like people do.
There's no shame in that.
There's no shame in that because you do it to get your breathing under control.
Okay.
Advice somebody gave to me is that when you come to drink stations or you're taking a sports gel, do it while you're walking. Get your breathing under control. Take your drink. Take your sports gel. Let it settle.
Right.
Get your breath back and then go off again because you'll go off a little bit quicker than when you took it on because you're just a bit more energized. There's no shame in walking, particularly if sometimes when you're going up steep hills, you expend more energy trying to run it than you do just gently strolling up and keeping your breathing under control.
So the water is obviously about hydration. These sporting gels is sugars. You
just get the carbs on, because when you're in when you got marathon, you've probably only got enough carbs, I reckon, for 2.5 hours.
Oh wow! And generally, average time for a marathon is like 3-4, something like that? Or?
I think 4 hours is the
4 hours.
bench. I mean, my best time is 4 hours 20.
Wow. Okay.
When I started, I was running 6 hours 20, 6 hours 30.
Wow, that's a big improvement.
Cut
it down, yeah.
Big difference.
How did you figure out the gait thing? So understanding that you were running differently.
This comes back to it's come back to not being in that circle of people that were runners. And somebody said to me, "Look, you got to go to a running shop. They have treadmills. They'll put you on the treadmill. They'll video your foot landing."
Bloody hell! Which shop is this? JJB don't do this.
No, we're talking about running shops up and running in town, or Sutton Runner, which is close to us. So,
all right.
I went to the London Marathon Expo. They'll put you on a treadmill and they'll analyze your foot and they'll play it back and see your foot's landing neutral, so you can, take your pick of running trainers, or we think pronating or you're under pronating, and therefore these are the brands that might suit you best. So that's how I got into it. And then what happens is you'll always favor one brand, because once you find a trainer that works for you, stick to it. You don't experiment.
No deviation. And these types of trainers, specialists, I mean, do they set you back more? And what's kind of the half-life of these things?
I think it's like a lot of things. It's like you could pay full price. Right. I mean, you could easily, some people pay the going rate of 130, 140 pounds for these trainers. I tend to wait till the sales, because like anything, it's like mobile phones. When a running trainer is when they're about to upgrade the model, they'll reduce the price.
The last ones, and it's all the same.
The functionality is the same, isn't it?
The functionality is the same. The tweaks are very minor.
Different colors, designs.
When it comes down to the sale price, that's when I jump in and get 3 or 4 pairs. It's like,
okay. You're in it for the long run, man.
So you stock.
Sounds like you want to flip the trainers.
Nice pun. Yeah. Long run. Take no.
And I think it's important to rotate the trainers as well. So
rotation policy.
Instead of constantly wearing the same trainer again and again.
Yeah.
Particularly long run, and let the cushioning recover, and you'll squeeze more.
Oh my God, you proper people talk about crop rotation. You got jutti rotation.
Jutti rotation, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're breaking in all the shoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever considered wearing barefoot shoes or anything like that, just to sort of make that transition?
I haven't. I know of people that have tried it, and it's a very strange sensation.
Yeah, it is.
Indy, is this that thing, the socks you wear? Is it like that? Is that what you're talking about?
No. So I wear barefoots because they have a really big box at the front. So they allow your feet to just be not squeezed together, but they allow them to be like normal. So you have a normal spread across your toes. And it changes the way you run and the way you walk, because you feel everything. So say if you're pronating or underpronating, you can't do that in barefoots. You kind of have to be really spot on, which is how humans are meant to run. So if you ever look at a child when they're first born, they have an arch in their foot. They're able to do like full squats and stuff, etc. And a lot of them wear sandals until they're about 6 or 7, and they still have that full mobility and functionality. It's because they haven't moved into trainers that have tight boxes. When they start doing that, their flexibility slowly starts shrinking. Plus, sitting at a table, as we do in school all day long, things like that play until you get to a point where you're just like a bit unflexible, I guess it is, or just old.
It's a very good point, actually. When I did London Marathon in about 2012, there were some Maasai warriors that came over from Africa.
Maasai warriors, wow.
They were used to running barefoot, as Indy mentioned, because that's the way they'd grown up. But they weren't allowed to run London barefoot. It just, for insurance reasons or something, they weren't allowed.
Yeah.
What happened was one of the tire companies, or one of the running shoe companies with a tire company, came up with this rubber design on, shoes, almost like gloves for them. They could run.
Yeah.
So they still felt like they were running barefoot, because obviously they were, so they still were able to run the way they ran, because what they were wearing is barely shoe.
Yeah, so mimicked it. Yeah, okay.
It sort of came from there. And then I've heard of like a tribe in Mexico, the same thing. They run barefoot, and they can run 40, 50 miles barefoot. And they put them in trainers and they just couldn't cope.
You're saying as in no trainers at all. I'm saying there's trainers that are actually called barefoots that have like zero drop.
Yeah, but that's where it's
But that's the extreme. Like I didn't even know that people did that. I've seen people walk on the street without shoes on, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I wouldn't go that far.
No. Right? That's not cool, man. I was at the cricket on the weekend, Birmingham, right? Watching India, England. There's a guy next to me here, and he's just getting his feet out, and then he's plopping it. So, the seats are in front of you is quite compact, and then he's put it kind of either side of the seat. I can see his feet and his toes, man. I'm like, you put that away, man. It's like you wouldn't do it on a plane. Like,
was he wearing flip-flops, though? That's why.
No. He didn't have flip flops. It was like proper trainers.
So he took off his trainers, took off his socks, and then
no
thought,
socks, no socks,
just...
no socks,
oh,
no
okay,
socks,
okay.
trainers, and it was just like I think his feet were all burnt, like bunions on it. I was just like, man, I was like, I'm just gonna keep looking this way. It's just foot haircut, man. Like people they just need to not put their feet out in certain places.
Not good.
It's not good,
top
man.
it off, go in Indian loft.
Yeah, India won on Saturday. India won the series, man. Yeah. They're playing the B team yesterday. That was minor, man. It's a great game anyway. Went to last over, but they won the series.
Acha, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, is this Test cricket? Other cricket?
No. They lost a Test match, but the Test match series is drawn 2-2, so that was fine. And they won the T20 2-1. But yeah, the game yesterday was awesome. But we digress. Going back to feet and running, was there ever an element for you then, Bazza, about losing weight? Like, was that ever part of it?
Actually, that was the other thing. I think since I was about 12 or 13, I've always had issues keeping my weight under control.
Okay.
So up and down. So with the running, I found it was getting a bit more control, just running consistently and even just running 2 or 3 weeks. And I think obviously my diet wasn't particularly good. So when I went to running and I got control of my diet as well, the two went really well together.
How did you change your diet? What was the big changes you made?
I've got a very sweet tooth, so it was really
a sweet Punjabi tooth, or just like sweet anything tooth.
I've never been big on fried food, so what fried food wasn't an issue, and I've always enjoyed eating fruit and stuff, but it was the sweet element.
Right.
So when I probably not the first marathon, when I got to my 4th or 5th marathon, for 5 months I just cut out chocolates, any sweet. I wouldn't even have a reward. It was just like they're all gone, and I got into really good shape doing it.
And this is the 5 months in the build up to your run.
And just let body be as pure as possible. I got more into hydration. I've never been a big fan of drinking water, but as a marathon runner, hydration's key. Hydration is everything. So,
and your training camp then for one of these things, it's 5-6 months.
It used to be. Now I'm in half marathon shape. So if you said to me go and run a half marathon tomorrow, I'd go and do it. So
okay. So you got a base level of
my base is half marathon. So if I want to train for marathon, I start half marathon and build up. Whereas obviously when I first got into running, I was starting from
0,
then trying to submit a lot of mistakes.
Wow, that's quite a long run. If you think about half a year to train for a single day event. Now, the only comparison Indy and I have is when we used to do Bhangra competitions. 8-minute performance or 10-minute performance.
We
say Indy, how many?
That's like sprinting.
4 months, 6 months? Yeah, no, but the training camp period. How long would we train? 4 months, 6 months?
6-7 minutes for like 4 months. Yeah.
4 months.
4 or 5 months.
That's probably the longest thing I've ever trained for a small thing. But wow, and so you're in that 6 month period, you're training, how many times a week are you training?
Well, you follow the training plan, so you're building up. So you start off with like 2 or 3 runs a week, but not too much.
Right.
As I mentioned, your aim is to roughly 3 to 4 weeks before the big day, so a 20-mile run. 18 if you can't hit 20, but 20 ideally. And then you sort of gives you enough time to recover for the marathon, but just to decide what you need to do to just fine tune getting another 10 kilometers out of your body. If you're trying like different sports gels and stuff, did they agree with you? Because I've had issues where sport really bad. So it's a lot of experimentation as well in that time period to find the gels that work for you, hydration plans, running in different weather conditions, because you turn up to London Marathon, you've got no idea what weather you're going to get.
Yeah, it could be hot, cold, because it's in like March, April?
It's towards the end of April.
Yeah.
So what happens is...
by the way, I completely guessed that.
When I
completely guessed.
Yeah.
It's his research.
It's a spring marathon, so initially it used to be quite nice conditions, but in 2018, they like hit 28, 29 degrees. Well, like London, that's quite bad.
Man. Like you're going to collapse. Bazza, just before we carry on. Yeah, perfect. Oh, wow. Look at that specialist in the roof.
In the roof, yeah.
You don't see those anymore. Okay, so definitely there's an element of fitness. It's interesting how you said your journey into it was kind of, you didn't really like it, you were forced to do it. And we all have that experience cross country. I mean, I was talking to the guy I went to the match to yesterday was actually my biology teacher in secondary school.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
that's mad grooming, Karan.
As in, no, he taught me cricket as well. Like, so he's my cricket coach.
Okay.
Biology. He then left the school whilst I was in sixth form, went to Africa, like your clock. He went to Africa to do missionary work. He's a very devout Christian. Came back and now teaches theology. And so now actually we meet over Zoom once a month, and we're going through the Bible. He's teaching me about the Bible actually. So we were talking about the cricket, and yesterday we were talking about cross country. I don't know how it came up, but he was just saying about how schools have come so far now where there are certain things you can't say. And he was like, there was a guy in my year who's a bit big, and basically one of the other teachers would say, you et it, you sweat it. He'd say that to him. What is funny, right?
Tough
and
love.
Then he said, yeah, probably. He said there was one other guy who basically said to the other teacher, "Oh, I can't do cross country because I got one lung." Okay, and then so the teacher said, "Well, show me a scar." Didn't have a scar, right? And then they said when he was running and he did the laps, he come around. His surname was Lau. He was like, "Look, here's one lung Lau." Like he's just
oh my god!
And I was like, he's like, you can't say this stuff now. And I was like, yeah, you really can't, man.
Did he actually have a single lung?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just more of a mystery thing. But they come up with that. It's pretty specialist, man, when you're that young, But yeah, we all have that kind of. I don't know what you guys were in school, but it's cold, right? And you're wearing like I used to wear it with a white top t-shirt and white little shorts, and you're running around. Now, I mean, the running actually makes you warm. And you're doing these laps.
That's
and
it.
It's just, yeah. You're just dirty. And at the end, like it burns to breathe. You're not feeling it yet. And then you have Barney. Sometimes it's cold or guttum, and then that goes down.
It just feels like a really British sport. That's it. I don't know if they do this anywhere else.
Is it like it's just I don't know what it is. It's just this torture.
It is big, actually. The world got into running. Cross country running in this country is very, very big. So I joined a running club. They had a cross country season.
Right, season.
I initially refused to.
You had PTSD. You're like, man,
I was still traumatic, and then I thought, okay, I'll give cross country a go. And I turned up at this cross country. I finished last because I just did not like the thought of running on grass and mud. It was just like I did not enjoy it at all. So
it's the terrain, isn't it?
It's the terrain. Then so I didn't do it for another 4 years, and I think that 4 years I got better as a runner. And I went back, and I was a bit better. I was still towards the back of the pack, but I wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't embarrass myself too much, but I think it's a very British thing about running cross country.
There is, yeah.
Worst conditions ever.
Like it's like army, isn't it? Like you watch these shows about the Green Beret Commandos, and they do this thing called the Yomp where they do like Dartmoor 60 miles.
Or just even SAS, who dares to win?
I've got to give. There's some of the races I've seen here. I mean, they're just they're torturous, but it's just like it really toughens them up.
No, like you said, it sounds like what you're saying is, you got to have a lot of resilience. It's a singular thing. It's not a team-based sport. It's you against your body and your mind. And do you ever find, do you listen to stuff or is it just?
Yeah, I mean, I mix up some. So when I first got running, I didn't listen to anything because I was quite new to running. I wanted to be aware of traffic noises and generally. And then the more comfortable I got, the more I did start listening to music.
Okay.
But then if I was going out very early, I might listen to Bart, might put Barney on, live Gait. Then as you get more and more apps, you listen to live Gait. Then sometimes I'll listen to nothing. I'll just want to listen to my body. I just want to assess my body and see where my fitness is at. And sometimes I just need that silence of not listening to music, not listening to anything. Assess your thoughts. So it depends on what sort of mood I'm in. Sometimes I want to listen to music. I need to listen to music. Sometimes it might be just I want to listen to a podcast. I want to listen to talking.
Okay. You want to listen to the Indian Doctor podcast?
When you listen to a podcast and running, right? I'm like, what if it's a comedy podcast? Do you stop and laugh?
This is the thing. When I'm running, when I'm running, I can't listen to a running podcast.
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to like sort of fun podcasts, nothing too serious.
Yeah.
It's easy to follow. And if I miss a bit, and I'm not thinking, I wonder what they just said. So I listen to a lot of podcasts where they reminisce about the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and think, do you remember this? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
But if I want to listen to a running podcast, it has to be while I'm sat down because I need to concentrate on
you got to listen and be attentive to what they're saying.
Yeah.
And do you find that's quite a pleasant distraction when you're running? Do you like that? Do you end up focusing on the podcast and therefore you don't know you're running? Or?
Yeah, it's obviously that sometimes if I'm just going, if I mentioned earlier on, obviously I love the freedom of running and being in control. Just go out because I want to do the miles. I'm feeling in a good mood. So in those probably more like about podcasts on because I'm thinking I just want to have a bit of something amusing to listen to. I mean, I'm just going out to get some miles in.
Okay.
I'll listen to something that's going to make me laugh.
And obviously, like you said, from a physical point of view, it's obviously, it's good for us. And you've obviously lost weight and you've done those other things. How would you summarize the benefit on your mental health? Obviously, you've told us about the mindfulness in the moment, but a kind of a longer term picture. What has it done, if it's done anything? And what message would you have to those? Because we see this, this is in the NHS, like they'll say, oh, your mental health is bad, you should do some exercise. But it's a very kind of, vague, flippant comment. But somebody who actually has done it for a long time, what impact has it on your mental health?
Yeah, we're going to answer this in 2 stages. So if I look at the person I was in 2006, I think other people look at the person I was in 2006, they'll say that I've changed a lot. And if I say what's changed, they'll say that you're more confident, more outgoing.
Wow. More
positive.
Ever since I've known you, you've been like that anyway. So
yeah. I think it's more, our big issue for me is confidence. Because when you take on these sort of personal physical challenges, it obviously gives you that confidence. So actually, I'm capable of achieving more than I thought. And I think not so the first years I ran, but when I got christened Usain Bolt, there's sort of that, there's a humorous element to it because people obviously understood the joke.
Yeah.
He's a Sardar running in his Usain Bolt. And what happened was when people picked up on him, they wanted to chat. It's like, I was very lucky the first time I ran as Usain Bolt. I got pulled over by the BBC because Denise was the former Olympic champion, saw the name, and she was like, "We need to speak to this guy because
I love it.
It's funny. It's quite nice, and he's So let's see what this is about." So I gave me a little bit of confidence as well because it was like I already have a plan to run with that name once,
right?
Because I've ran it more and more and more. People have got used to it, so I almost feel like compelled to.
Well, it's your brand now, isn't it? It's your branding.
It's a bit almost like a brand. So I think running has made me more confident. Back to having that freedom, just having my time. It's given me the confidence to try new things. I've tried lots of different things, then dropped things because I thought it's not really for me. It's maybe more.
But that takes a lot of confidence to drop something, right?
Yeah.
Because we have this thing about, oh no, I can't do that. I've committed to it now. Like the whole thing about people not saying no to things.
Yeah.
Or saying, and actually, I get asked this question a lot. Somebody asked me recently, one of my junior doctors. He was like, Jazz, you talk about having experiences and reflecting on them, but where's the line? Like, how do you know when you've given something enough time? He was talking about leaving medicine, and he's a fresh doctor, right? He's only 10 months in. And I was like, wow, you're already at that point. I was like, it took me 5 years to start having like thoughts about how do I redesign my life? And I was like, you're there in 10 months. I was like, I don't think you've had enough time experience yet. But that's a really big point you make there. Knowing when to walk away.
What I was in job, because I think when I first started working, I just thought I'm going to stick to where I am. And
what was your first job as?
I first worked in like credit control for a utility company, then I moved into their analysis. So I worked hard, but I was like, oh, I don't want to take any risks at work. I'll stick to it. If I don't get to advance, don't worry about it. Then I had the confidence to think, actually, if I'm in a job I'm not enjoying, I'm just going to walk away.
Right. Okay.
It's a big thing to do, but it's
it is a big thing.
I've left jobs because I thought I'm not enjoying it, and this is not where I see my long-term future.
Yeah.
And I'd rather walk away and find something else, even if I have to take a step back. And I've gone into jobs with lesser pay and stuff that I've enjoyed more. I've been here in, and I don't think I would have done that if I hadn't had this confidence took from running. And now I'm happy with the job I'm in again. And I think I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had this confidence. That's what running brought me, was that confidence and positivity that actually, you know what, if you take risks, you've took risks with your running, in lives within reason. I'm not talking about being reckless. It's just like, if I'm in a job that I'm not enjoying, stick to it. I mean, there's so many other opportunities out there. And so that philosophy's come into my life. Just to find it, just obviously mentioned about mental well-being and stuff. You're right. I know doctors and GPs that prescribe people to go out and run and go do a park run. I'm involved with something called Run Talk Run. And I won't
Run Talk Run.
Run Talk Run was started by a young lady who's incredible. She had a lot of issues with mental health, and she went out running with her mum, and she found that when she was running, as I mentioned, she had that freedom to talk. She could express herself.
So it created an environment that was conducive to sharing.
It's what she did was she sort of like reached out on Facebook saying, like, okay, this has made me feel good. So if anybody fancies just come for a chatty run, I'm going to be at this park whenever. And that, for a few months, nobody came. And then somebody came, and then people knew what she was doing and said, oh, we'd like to do what you do where we live. Run Tough Run evolved, and Her name's Jess. She's an incredible human being.
Mm.
And so I do run, talk, run walls. So the philosophy is, yes, we run. We don't run fast. We can walk if we want. What it's just a space where we're not worried about the pace we run at. It's about head space, not pace. That's our tagline.
Head space, not pace.
Pace. So if you've had a good day, you just want to chat, we listen. We don't give advice, we don't give therapy, we listen. Now I'm a mental health first aider. I've volunteered for listening charities.
Mm.
I mean, I'll help signpost, but I would never ask any of the group. I wouldn't give any of the group advice. But it's a brilliant way for people to come out and sort of buy into what I mentioned on that. You come out and run with us or walk with us, enjoy a bit.
Let's look at that a bit deeper then, Bazza, because that's actually really profound what you've said there. Because again, there are certain spaces which, counseling, therapy, psychiatry, which are kind of, the designated, this is where you come to open up. And often, even when I see patients when they walk in, they've taken an overdose of self-harm. Or, I had somebody last week who clearly was a victim of domestic violence, had bruises everywhere, was smelling of booze, and was only comfortable speaking to myself. But even then, it took a lot to get there. And it always makes me think, like, what environment can we create quickly that will allow somebody to share in a safe space? So what is it you think about the running that gets people there quicker? That's like, this is easier. Like, what is it?
I mean, I think the first thing to stress is we probably wouldn't get people to come to Run Talk Run that are in that far a crisis that you mentioned. We're talking about people that they're in earlier stages and they maybe got into a rut, but they find that they just need to do something to get out of it. So it's people at that relatively early stage where the GP might say, well, actually, go and do this, or just try this. They're still open enough to try it. They can see that there is a benefit. Well, say, okay, I'll give it a go. And even still, there'll be a bit of trepidation. I've had people contact me, say, I want to, but I don't really run fast and I'm going to slow you down. And we always emphasize what I mentioned earlier on is that we're not interested in how long it takes us. It doesn't need the 5K. 5K is like the nominal distance.
Right.
Generally do not care about how fast you run, because I'll say to them, look, I do my own running outside of Run Talk Run. So for me, it's not like this is my only run of the week.
Right.
It's the only time you're going to come out and do a bit of physical activity, have a bit of time to concentrate on your headspace. And it's all about how you do it. So if you say to me, I want to slow down, we slow down. If you say to me, I want to stop and walk, we stop and walk. And
you find that people generally, they start. Like, say I'm running with you and I've got something on my mind.
Yeah.
Would you be like, oh, you're like, what's up? What's on your mind? Or it just comes from...
We would never try and force anybody to talk. What we say to people, you feel comfortable, you talk. If you want to come your first time and just listen into the conversation. Random stuff, we can talk about anything. We've had some more random conversations and they can people feel better because it sort of takes your mind away from things. The only thing we say to people is when you come, just don't share it, but just out of 10, how are you feeling? And then when
as in at the end, before and after?
At the start and at the finish.
Perfect.
But just in your mind, how are you feeling out of 10? You're 5 before you start, but you might be 6 when you finish.
Yeah.
And you're a 6 actually for half an hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 5K.
Yeah.
Help take your mind off what it was that was.
I think part of that is like community, where you're all kind of in it together and you're struggling together.
We're in it together, We're not there to judge. We're not there to give advice. We can signpost if we feel there's a need, but we just listen. If somebody wants to talk, we listen. If they don't want to talk, they can listen to us. Nobody wants to talk at all. We just want to enjoy the atmosphere, like it's a lovely run or whatever. That's fine.
You just do that. Yeah. So there's no rules as such, are there? So I guess that's the beauty of it as well.
Coming with us, there's a bit of freedom.
Yeah.
Not to talk. You can talk as much as you want. We don't care. We just want to give you a bit of space to
express yourself. Yeah. However you want to express yourself, which might be quiet or might be listening or speaking. Yeah. That's a big point you make there, Indy, as well, about
community, man.
Commonality, right? And Barry, I've told you this before, but when I went through my stint of anxiety, one of the only people who could relate to that was Indy.
Right.
And I remember, I'm outing Indy a little bit.
We spoke about this before. It's cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. I remember sitting outside this clinic. So I had this job. I left a job, which caused the anxiety, jumped into another job, which I thought was going to sort it out, which actually, I was only there for like 4 days, but that gave me more anxiety. Yeah. But I remember I think when the penultimate day or something of that second job, I was sitting in the car. It was about 8:30 in the morning and I was on the phone to Indy. And I actually didn't want to go in. before, and then I spoke to him for about half an hour, and by the end, like, and it's not like he was giving me affirmations. He was like, "Oh man, you're gonna have a good day." Like, he wasn't even doing anything. He was just keeping it real.
Yeah.
And like, you know, he's recognizing things that I'm saying. He's like, yeah, you know, I feel that. And literally, but at the end of it, I had enough in the tank to be like, I can see out this day. And that's all it took. And
yeah, sometimes you got to take it really linear, like single day, one foot in front of the other. That's it.
And it's so underrated. And, you know, Indy, that I will take that to the end of my days. Like there are certain moments when you reflect and you think the power of certain things. They're so welcome, they can yeah, thank you. They can look so small from the outside. But it cannot be understated. And this initiative you've done, Barry, this is amazing. Like, how often are you doing this?
I mean, I can't take that. Obviously, I do it.
Yeah.
We actually did it this evening. I've picked Mondays as my day because
Monday's your day. Yeah. Well, that's the day everyone hates, man.
yeah. But what happens is we have a bit of fun because we catch up. We got like a few of us that are regulars and other people float in and out. Right. Like, sometimes we talk about headspace. If somebody will say to everybody, if somebody wants to, because we're comfortable with each other now. Like a few weeks ago, one of the ladies, what she wanted to say, she goes, "I really got something I need to talk about." Like if I would pick a
was she a regular as well? This person?
She was a regular, so we picked a quote. Right, okay. We said, "Okay, open." So she opened up, and we had a chat. And by the end, she felt better that she got it off her chest, and then to the person we knew. And I think that's what we're there for. But some weeks we just chat about what we've been up to. We chat about what's happening, and I think that's the good thing is that there's nobody's compelled that they have to talk about anything particular.
And in life where there's, you know, like we all work in jobs where there are essentially there are rules, right? I mean, it's great when we have work which allows us to be autonomous. I think that is the, you know, the goal. Like you want work that's autonomous. Like, for example, when I see patients, I don't want to be told how many patients I need to see a day or how I need to see them or how I need to do my documentation. It's just Jazz is going to provide value. Go and do a good job. Yeah. Whereas I know now, again, in reflection, the jobs where that caused me that anxiety it was so much control. All my work, 100% was audited. Even if I got to the right outcome, you've done it the wrong way. Fail. And when I've come from a life where everything I'm doing is autonomous, on paper, I thought it was going to be easy work, right? And then it was just that change. And so I think this is a really good point you're making here. And I guess the other thing for you is, I presume the gratification feeling that you get, you know, from helping others, and I presume it forms part of your seva. Maybe that's the way you see it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you make, because we touched it earlier on, because I've been running for so long now. I've seen the personal benefits. I think I was one of those people who say, I can't run. I can't run. And actually prove to themselves I can go way beyond that.
Okay.
But when I hear people say, I don't think I could run, I think, obviously you can, but it does take work. I'm not going to lie to somebody, say it's easy to do. Right. Some people have an aptitude for it. They just don't want to do it because they want to go to the work. And some people just need a little bit of a nudge. So what I hope is that you just encourage people to actually, there's nothing that says you have to go out and run as fast as possible or run really fast.
Do something.
You just find that rhythm.
And
that's probably the most important thing about running is you do how it suits you. So you find that pace that works for you, and that's all you've got to do. It doesn't matter about.
I mean, that's a great analogy for life, isn't it? It's find your rhythm, isn't it? Like we're all trying to be like that person, be like that. That's what success looks like. That's what a good Sikh looks like, right? We have it in everything we do. Whereas what you're saying is actually no, find your rhythm, get comfortable, confidence builds, and you just own it. You're like, this is how I do it.
I think one of the things people say to me is, "Oh, why would you run a marathon?" Just say, look, when I'm at the start line, I look around, we see all these are the marathon runners. Yeah. And then we're all going to get to the finish line. Everybody's journey will be very different. Now, my first journey from the start to the finish was extremely painful. Other people will say the same thing happened to them, but I do marathons now and it's not as pain. It's still a bit of pain. I'm not going to say it's, but there's not as much pain. But that journey every time is different. I think that relates back to life, is the fact that it's going to be different. If we keep looking around and saying, well, why is his journey better than mine? Why is her journey easier than mine? And we
perceived easier, isn't it?
It's perception. Whereas actually, if I just concentrate on what I need to do to get to that finish line, it's going to be better for me.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's I do need to give a humble plug to Gymshark, because they've done something similar, where they've recently today they launched something which is barbers barbers' haircuts and a chat basically. So you can go to a place in Shoreditch where they've launched their own little pop-up barbers, and you go there, have a free haircut, and just talk about your own problems. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening. More and more people are finding different ways of
expressing themselves.
Everybody wants to come for a run and a walk. So what else can we do to get people engaged?
Yeah, and naturally everyone opens up in a barber shop anyway to your barber. So it's like
we
it's
all do things in life, and
things.
Some guys what I've noticed started like a chai and chat.
Yeah,
chat basically once a month meet up, come for a cup of tea, a little bit of some sandwiches, whatever it is.
Yeah,
just chat with other people. It can be women only, it can be men only.
Yeah.
That space where you're not going to be judged. And as we talked earlier on, if you want to open up, you can. If you're not sure, then you don't have to. But at least you know that space exists.
Yeah, and I guess people will open up, when they're comfortable.
Yeah.
The last one day camp we did, Baza, maybe not last day. Was the last one, or maybe the one before that? I think the Basaki camp.
Yeah.
We had a great spontaneous. I think we had 20 minutes. We didn't know what to do. We picked up the mic. I think it was me and Joe, but I think you were there as well.
It was you and Jad.
Yeah, and we just started. I think they were kind of 14 to 18-year-olds, really impressionable. Didn't want to talk about anything, and then we just started firing some statements at them. Like who's experienced a bit of bullying, or what do you think success looks like? And then, my God, it just became this conversation. Clearly, they had all these things on their mind.
Yeah,
and then they started talking. Oh yeah, I've had this. No, you've had this, and I've had this, and then. That day, and I know we spoke about it, we're still yet to action it, but having this space for those guys, that impressionable age, pre-uni, before they're going to go and have all these amazing experiences, but to just really give them a bit of the wisdom we've got through life that maybe we didn't have at that time.
I do think Sikh camps have been given like a bad rep over the years, but one thing they did do was allow me to talk to other people that did sort of have those same thoughts, and you can kind of like have a little chat about it, even if it isn't with the most, I don't know, even if it is with people who are maybe doing it under the wrong impression, you still had the chance to have people alongside you to talk to those things about, and just be like, do you know what you want to do with uni? No, I have no idea. Oh, safe. I have no idea either. Like,
I feel better. I feel better.
Yeah.
People thinking that they're the only ones. I say to doctors all the time, like, if I could read all of your minds, the 10 of you sitting here, you're all scared about the same shit. I don't know what type of doctor I want to be. I don't think I'm a good enough doctor. Like, it's all the same, man. But you just don't tell each other. And because you don't tell each other, then you just think it's just you. So that's really important. I think that applies to most walks of life. I think before we end this segment, Bazan, what would be your, let's say, your top 3 guiding wisdoms for somebody who's maybe interested in running, but just doesn't really know how to start? Like, what would that be?
The first one is either jump on a treadmill or identify a little circular square route where you live, not too long, just nice and easy. If you think you're going too fast, you probably are, just ease off. The second one is don't get too bogged down in what other people are achieving.
Right.
So when you do your first run with a mile, don't say, well, my first mile took this long. How did yours take? Don't do any of that. Just concentrate on making your next run either a little bit further, a little bit quicker. Just compete with yourself. Don't compete with anyone else, compete with yourself. And the third one is to try and make it as fun as possible. Particularly if you're training for a race, but you can have some fun with it. I mean, when in lockdown and stuff, people come up with some cool ideas. One was like, do a route where the first letter of each street name spells out your name.
Wow.
Bit of fun. Get to know the area. I mean, obviously, when your name is Barinderjit, obviously you're gonna have to,
bloody hell.
You've got a long road to go, mate.
You've got a few roads to pick. But it's just put a little bit of fun into it. Get your kids involved. You got kids, get your other half involved.
Hello, everybody is running today. Roti nahi milni. You bloody run.
So it's a little bit, yes, it's serious, but don't push yourself too hard. Don't compete with anyone too much. And like anything in life, put a bit of fun into it.
Okay. I like that.
What's the main meal you come back to having after a marathon? What's the one meal you want to have?
The super cheap.
My pre-race breakfast will always be porridge.
Okay.
It's a good healthy dose of porridge with banana, almonds, or milk. And then probably 20, 30 minutes before the start of the race, a banana. The typical stuff people mention. The night before, lots of carbs, sweet potatoes, pastas, rice. And then after a race, I'll just say to people, if you feel like you want a chocolate bar, you feel like you want to drink a hot chocolate, you want a milkshake, You go
Pizza.
because you've earned it.
Pizza.
And what do you
Pizza.
have though? What do you have?
I have
though?
pizza. I have pizza.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Singhs. Yeah.
Mr. Singhs.
Mr. Singh's
Yes.
pizza's my
yes,
go-to
yes,
as
yeah.
well after a race.
Nice.
We feel better. Me and Indy feel better about ourselves now.
Yeah.
Again,
It has to be, yeah.
post Bhangra. Remember, Indy? Do you remember in America? So we
Yeah.
performed in America, Baza, and
Yeah.
when we got back to the hotel room, there were 15 dabbe. That was just for our team of pizza. It was all margarita,
Yeah.
like no one cared, but it was like, wow, that's it now. We're just gonna have fun, eat pizza,
Yeah.
be happy, man.
Nice.
So happy.
I think you have to. I think you've earned it. When you've done something good, you've got to have that
Yeah.
reward.
That's a big point as well. This idea of earned rewards, you know, so pleasure, you know, pleasure, hedonism. Pleasure only has value when you've worked hard for it.
Yeah.
So when I was talking about my teacher yesterday, I was saying, you know, the cricket feels good because we've worked 5 days hard work,
Yes.
you know, whether
Yeah.
what you do, I. But if I did this every day, it's got no value. It's got zero value. So I guess so you enjoy your pizza more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Baza, second segment I want to touch upon is where exactly did you grow up? Was it Leeds?
Gateshead.
Gateshead, right. Growing up in the, I'm going to guess the decade 70s? You were 70s guy.
I was born in the 70s.
You're born some, all right. So technically 70s.
Went to school mates, yeah.
Late 70s.
Born in the 70s.
Okay. There can't be many Singhs, man. Like growing up, like one hand, count on one hand, two hands.
I mean, I was thinking, so the distinction between Gateshead is on one side of the River Tyne, Newcastle is on the other side of the River Tyne.
Okay.
So I normally say Newcastle, but in Gateshead when I was growing up,
yeah,
we were the only Sikh family in like a 4 or 5 mile radius in Gateshead. Most people on the river in Newcastle. Everybody knew everybody. We knew my parents knew all the other families because what happened is they'd all moved from the Midlands to the north. Basically, what happened was this was the period when my parents came over when they were kids. They'd settled. They want to become independent.
Your parents came over to England as kids?
As kids.
Oh, wow. So you guys have been here a long time.
Yeah. So they've been here in this early 60s, educated.
Yeah. Wow.
But this is the period when a lot of families were settled and worked in, my dad's early jobs was a mechanic, worked in stuff, but they want to be independent because often they do prefer working for themselves. So when they started into getting shops, some of your mum's side of the family noticed that shops in Newcastle, the northeast, were cheaper.
So this is the tip. This is what.
So they decided we'll move to the northeast. But what they didn't take into account was the fact that in the northeast it was quite racist at the time.
Massively
racist. So they made the move. My dad moved them. Different people moved, but it was very, very tough because a lot of people my age in the late 80s and early 90s went to the good one. I got the haircut. A lot of the lads were like, we can't cope with physical abuse,
the pressure,
verbal abuse. We don't understand why we've got long hair because Punjabi classes weren't really a thing at the time for us. You know, there wasn't anybody probably well enough educated that far north that could join us to Sikhi. My attitude was the other way. Even though I'd been physically abused, I'd been punched a few times, I'd been kicked and spat at.
Because of the way you looked?
Because of the way I looked. You know, you get called a girl as well, you got top knot, so you're a girl.
Yeah.
My attitude was, well, they're picking on me because I'm different. My problem, that's their problem. I think that was a difference in my attitude to other people that I was growing up with. I was like, well, I need to understand more about Sikhi, why we keep long hair and stuff. Before I even think about cutting my hair. Was
that built into you, or was that something that?
It's probably the one thing. It's the only thing I was probably a bit stubborn as a kid because I'd say I was quite an easily scared kid. I couldn't understand why you pick on me because I'm different. You know, because growing up in the northeast, I'd support Newcastle Football Club, everybody else, and it'd be fine. But then, if the conversation went to somebody else, like, well, you're different. You're not one of us. You like get rid of your hair, cut your hair. You know, you look like a girl. No, we won't accept you because you look like a girl. But I was like,
people were actively saying that to you.
Yeah, people would say that to me. And so I thought,
and this is like teachers would they say to you? Or?
No, I've got to give credit.
I
wasn't bullied in school as much. I went to Catholic school, ironically. But
right.
My headmaster at junior school was a really, really nice guy. So I didn't have bullying in junior school. Secondary school is a bit different because there's more kids and there was a bit more bullying at secondary school. It's more like when you're outside of school, kids from other schools, kids that used to come to shop that didn't go to the same school. And I was fortunate that kids I went to school with would look out for me. They didn't look at me as any different. They were like, he's one of us.
Okay, your mates are your mates.
That's nice.
Mates were like, he plays football with us. His dad owns a
sounds like us. Yeah.
So they would stand up if they said to me, like, if something happens, you tell us. But sometimes I wouldn't tell them because I'd be like, anybody, how many times can I possibly tell them?
Okay.
So then that's what made me think I need to learn more about Sikhi. Cutting my hair seems really just. There's a reason I've got long hair.
What kind of age are we talking about here, Baza?
This is back when I was 9 or 10, when everybody else was getting the haircut.
9 or 10. So again,
when I was
primary school.
Yeah, just coming up to the end of junior school, you're thinking about going to secondary school. And I think kids are becoming more aware and kids are forming little factions and stuff. And all of a sudden, asking questions, well, why is he so different? Which didn't matter when we were 6 or 7.
Right.
To go to secondary school, all of a sudden they noticed this difference. So why we have Gait, so I was like, okay, I'm not cutting my hair. And as I said earlier on, I was like, if they have an issue with my long hair, that's their problem, not mine. This is part of my identity.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine not having long hair. Like having obviously a brother and a dad that kept their hair as well. It's obviously a compounding effect. Like I'm like, if they can handle it, normal. And they had it.
And I think that was the thing. A lot of kids would say to me, well, your dad's clean cut, your uncles are clean shaven, because they'd all got their hair cut.
Right. Okay.
Because of work, whatever. And then
so for you then, that role model, obviously
really anybody. Yeah.
We have pictures of Guru Sahib and we have that. But physical human being, was there a role model that you looked to, like, not really, this person's carrying it well? Or
no, there wasn't any. Even like my own cousin came from India and he was like, cut your hair. I'm not cutting my hair. Just like
okay, so it wasn't just other people, like non-Sikh, who were like, okay,
cousins were telling me to do it.
Sorry, they were like,
they're all Katla. The only thing, occasionally we come down to Birmingham because my family's still in Birmingham, so there's some people on my mum's side of the family that had this, and they said to me, no, you keep it, you've toughed it out this long, so I just thought, I want to tough it out, I want to not let it get to me. And so I was more learned about Sikhi, and then go to the God running.
So that, like, and you mentioned earlier about running shoes, and you said, okay, pre-internet, you're reading magazines. Now we got basics of Sikhi. We can read Sakhiyan.
Right, yeah.
We run Sikhi classes and camp. Like, it's so accessible if you want it.
Everything's
right? So you're there. You're up north, like you said. I mean, forget Punjabi. Okay, there's no Punjabi class, therefore there's not definitely going to be a Sikhi class, which is more Punjabi is just Punjabi, isn't it? But
we got Punjabi classes going eventually, but we didn't get Sikhi classes.
Right. So where is the source of your knowledge coming from? Where is that?
We used to go to India a lot when we were kids. So like when we always said to me, like, find a book that's in English.
Okay.
So there's a lot of. I used to love reading. I've always loved reading, whether it's work of fiction or non-fiction. Was something I've always. So I'd be always like. So but when we went when I was about 10 or 11, we were back 3 or 4 books. One was like the Sakya, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, aimed at kids in English. Same with Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And then there's things like the 5K, with the 5Ks and why you take on all the Gurdwaras that part of a history. So just started reading about it. And I was like, there's a lot to it. Because I went to Catholic, so I was learning a lot about Catholicism.
Yeah.
The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and all this.
Yeah.
At one point, I knew more about Catholicism than I did about Sikhi, to be very honest. So I wanted to change that
balance.
So it was just through a lot of reading. Then eventually there was a professor that came to Newcastle.
Okay.
Doing Sikhi classes, and this was about when I was about 14. So this is where I'd probably ridden the storm. As bad as it could have got with people telling me to get.
So you're motivated by your history, your past, like look at what people have given for their case.
Yeah.
Fine. So you're emboldened, and then somebody comes along who's actually like, I'm going to teach you about Sikhi now as well.
Yeah. Now he looks funny. He's thinking all the Monday we had their haircut. Right. There's 2 or 3 that haven't.
Right.
He's given us the Sikhi because I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad I didn't. Because now somebody's
delay gratification.
Somebody's finally sort of explained to me the benefit of why I didn't give into it.
Wow. So that was your sort of journey.
Yeah, it was tough. Like, it's very difficult as a kid to think when you think I'm not any different. I've got the same interest. I love football like you love football.
Yeah.
I love the sports that you love a lot. Eat similar foods that you eat. I've like the same chocolates you eat. And yet we got to a certain age, all of a sudden you're looking at me different.
Changes. Yeah. Why does it become important about identity? Yeah.
The racist language comes out, and all of a sudden, so what hit that switch.
Mm.
Like, and that's what I meant. It's like I need to learn more about myself before I decide whether I'm prepared to cut my hair, because there's a reason I've got long hair and I need to understand why. And then
Okay, and that's an interesting angle. So it's more there were good enough reasons for you not to do it. You didn't actually go with the intention, I'm not going to cut it. It was more, I need to understand and then I'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
looking back on it, Barry, well, no, maybe I should phrase it better. If looking back on it, why do you think they reacted in the way they did towards you?
I think it just what happens is it just takes one kid, I think, it's that thing that kids do, is that one kid suddenly said, oh, look, Amy's different, he's got top, he looks like a girl. And then all the other kids be like, oh, well, I want to be with the cool kid, and the cool kid's the guy that's picking on somebody.
Don't you find that crazy how it's like that in the world today?
It's the way the world's always been, isn't it? It's sort of, you look at the way social media is, somebody can make a false claim.
That's it. Bam, done. Sticks.
Yeah, follow that person, even though it's a load of rubbish, because we want to be seen to be with the trendy guy or the cool kid. So if the cool kids were saying, well, he looks like a girl, he should be getting his hair cut, well, let's follow him. Even though, like, we know Barry for like a few years, and we went to nursery with him, and you know his parents, and they're cool. Forget all that. We want to be with, and Barry's not the cool kid. The cool kid's over there.
The need to fit in, isn't it? And if I don't join in, and maybe I'll be ostracized.
And then you think, say like I had made that mistake, I've got my hair cut. They found something else. That's my mentality. There would have been something else.
Yeah, probably.
And then you've lost anyway, isn't it?
Then you've lost anyway, because then it's like, well, you got your hair cut because like we bullied you into it. So
now we'll bully a little bit more for something else.
What can we do now?
Yeah, change your skin color.
Yeah, because I think
bleaching.
A couple of them, I think, who bullied me quite a bit.
Right.
They went the other way. When we got to like 15 or 16, I think what happened was there's a bit of respect. It was like, we gave this guy a really
flack
time of it.
Yeah.
We were physical, we were giving the verbals.
Right.
He just did not, and actually got our respect because he stood up to us.
Okay, I guess there comes a point, and maybe it's not for all bullies, but they must outgrow, they must think, oh, this is silly. They must get like their wisdom switch flips on, like, why do I, the buddhi, like, why do I hate this person? I have no reason to hate this person.
I think I think some don't get it. I think intelligent ones, hang on a sec. After all the crap I've given this person, they just doesn't seem to faze them. So what that I'm getting wrong? I have respect for people that can actually change their opinion. One of the guys mentioned, we're still good friends. We're good friends now. When I go to the Northeast, we'll hang out. We'll actually laugh about the fact he was such a.
So this person was a bully to you. This person you're talking about. Wow, that's a story. How does that
got a bigger heart than me, mate?
Yeah, there's a mutual respect between us now, because it's like, to put the hands up and say, I made a big mistake.
Right.
But I think that takes guts, because he could have done what other people did. So okay, I'm just going to walk off and.
Yeah. But I guess on your side as well, to have the humility to be like,
to turn around and say, I'm really, really sorry. I know that you've learned about religion now. Just enlighten me a little bit.
Okay, that's what he said to you. He actually was interested.
So he goes, because you were so, amount of rubbish we gave you about looking like a girl and having your hair long, and he goes, you just wouldn't budge. You would never. Yeah. Well, so I'm interested now. So what is it? So I didn't like go into too much about this. Okay, this is the basics. This is what you can read if you want to.
You basically said, listen, I'm a lion. Okay. Yeah. that's all you need to know. Yeah. You mess about, I'm going to eat you.
Yeah. And credit, you got to give people credit sometimes. He didn't have to ask. He could have just said, okay, well, I'll
not have to ask. Yeah.
Coming back to your point earlier on, bullies at dawn, and I'll move on to somebody else. We'll get to this. We'll go pick on somebody else. This guy was actually, what? Maybe as a bully, I'm the guy that's the issue.
Takes a lot of self-awareness for someone to own up to that. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Bazza, you've had a lot of grit and resilience. And listening to your story, I mean, we're not deep dived into it, but with the absence of having a role model, it's all self. It's all self, isn't it? You did it all yourself, really. Yeah. And did you, at that period in your life, did you have a confidant? There was somebody you were sharing these feelings with about the confusion? Maybe not the confusion. Maybe you weren't confused, but that feeling of, where am I going? Who am I? What's my identity? What does it represent?
I look back and I don't think there was. I think I look back and I think if we'd had something like Sikh Helpline when I was growing up, we turned to them. I think if I'd had something like that, there wasn't anybody at the God that I could really, I felt, turn to. I've always found it difficult to open up to anybody.
Right.
I need to really trust somebody to want to talk to them. And I've been fortunate that at university I had that, or when I've worked at different places I have had that, but growing up I don't feel like I had that, because I went to school with some really nice people at school, and they sometimes say to me, "Oh, what's up? You're a bit quiet at the minute."
Yeah.
But they would have been very difficult for them to sort of
understand
and have any empathy, because obviously they were white and I was Asian, so it would be difficult to put them in that position of trying to understand. I found then when you went to the God, most of the lads knew would cut their hair. It's just like, okay, you understand what I must be feeling because you had that bullying as well, but you cut your hair and I'm still having, and I'm still getting it. Taken to their, so well, you either cut your hair or you just live with it.
Did you find, and I don't know if you had did you have other Sikh boys with cut hair who were still at your school at that point? Like, would they stand up for you or anything?
There's no Sikh boys at my school at all. There's me and then my sister joined. And then at secondary school, there was eventually another Sikh boy joined, but he had cut hair from the beginning.
Right.
What happened was people would look at him and they'd look at me and say, well, he can't be a Sikh because he's not got long hair. You've got long hair.
Oh, they said to him?
No, they said to me, well, he's a Sikh. He's got his hair cut. Why can't you get yours cut?
Oh, I would have said Uno reverse card, baby.
So you're using him to get back to me. Saying, well, like I said, Sikh lads joined and he's... So it was literally, there's like the 3 Sikhs in school. At the very end, a couple more joined, but by then I was to my
A-levels. You were resilient then, you were leading the fight.
Yeah. When I was in sixth form, there was nobody that could bully me because everybody's younger. So there's a bit of respect towards sixth form. If he's got to sixth form and he's not cut his hair, we're not going to have a go.
Break him now.
That's it. He's the lion now.
Yeah.
Baza, do you have children?
Unfortunately not. I mean, it's one thing that didn't happen for me and my wife.
Okay.
And obviously that's something as well that we've had to cope with. We've tried obviously fertility treatment in this country and other countries. It's just one of those things you have to accept. We talked earlier on about these things that are out of your control, and this was one of the things that was out of our control, unfortunately.
Okay. I guess you can still answer the question, Baza.
Yep.
It was more about, you went through that. You didn't have the position where you could really speak to your daughter, to your friends, parents, cousins, like the kind of what we'd say the normal avenues. So if you're a parent, like someone who's been through a similar story to yourself, what would you be telling? I guess it doesn't have to be your child, but even the younger generation. Like we see people that come to our camps and classes and things. Like, how do you convey your message? How do other young people benefit from your experience?
Yeah. So we touched on it earlier on when you mentioned about like the camp, is that whatever you're feeling, there's a good chance somebody else is feeling the same thing, but they're finding it difficult that you are to articulate how you're feeling. So I think it is important to find not necessarily a role model, but somebody that you feel you can open up to. Somebody, it could be a family member, it could be a cousin, it could be an independent organization like a couple that we've mentioned, it could be a teacher, it could be some goddaughter. Just try and identify somebody that you think you could be able to open up to. And if you don't believe there's anybody in your immediate circle that can, obviously there are now, through the past social media, a lot of really good support charities that you can contact in and stay anonymous. Because a bit of pride, if you're a bit concerned about people finding out, then just do it anonymously.
Yeah.
You don't have to reveal who you are. You don't have to give your name. You can do it anonymously. There's lots and lots of opportunities out there. And what I say to people is that there'll be other people going through what you're going through. There are people that have gone through what you've gone through. It's not easy to talk about because it's still perceived as being weak. Sort of the whole perception of, well, you've got to deal with it yourself. To a degree, you do have to, but there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to call on somebody to give you that support. And there's nothing wrong with asking for assistance. There's a famous saying, isn't there, that there's a picture in a doctor's waiting room of 2 pairs of feet in the sand. And at times there's only 1 pair of feet in the sand. And man turns to God and says, why is it, God, that when I was having my times in life and needed you, We weren't there. And he goes, God, so how do you know that? He goes, because there's only one pair of feet. He goes, that's not me deserting you, that's me carrying you. So life's not smooth and you will need to ask for help. And sometimes you'll ask somebody for help who can't give it.
Right.
That can be tough. It can be tough if somebody who is either uncomfortable or doesn't feel like they're able to give you that advice. But don't let that deter you, because there'll always be at least one person out there that is prepared to help. Because as you mentioned, there's a lot of us who've gone through a lot of tough times. And if you turn to me, I can call upon what I've gone through, and I'd be happy to try and help and support somebody. That'd be either by just listening to them or guiding them or signposting, whatever I felt was the right thing. Is that there'll always be somebody that's prepared to listen to you. It might not be somebody that's obvious. It might not be somebody in your immediate circle. There are a lot of good people out there who give up their time to help people. And
that story you've obviously shared with us, now I've heard it before. Do you share that on any platforms? I mean, do you openly have discussions with young boys who are maybe considering? And you're right. I had a friend actually who he made the transition between secondary school and university. It's kind of these points, isn't it, when you're changing where nobody's going to know me. I can be a fresh start. And either they cut their hair or whatever they do. If you had someone young now, is your advice kind of what you said to your younger self, which is do the research, understand, make an informed decision, or do you go more down you should be proud of who you are, and like what's kind of your tactic?
I think it's a combination thing. I think it obviously depends. For me, it was the people haven't gone my identity. My identity is my long hair, even though I didn't really appreciate it at the time. Identity. So if people are picking on that, either they're in the right or they're in the wrong. And I need to work out which one it is. Because I can't see why having long hair should be an issue for them. Why is it such an issue? Why is it such
physically threatening?
Or that they feel that they can dictate what I should do so I fit in with them. So I think it is important, if you're being singled out, why are you being singled out, and to have a look, do a bit of research if you can, to find if people have been in similar situations. I think it's an interesting point you mentioned there, because when I moved on to university, because you talked about university there, when I came to university in the Midlands, I kept my hair and I was wearing the star. Found the issue I was having was a lot of Appin who was saying to me, "You're Sikh, but you don't drink."
Right. Okay. So let's just put a pause on that. So now you've gone to Midlands, which is a very brown area. So it should be like, oh man, there's gonna be loads of us here.
I'm like,
no problem.
This is.
And now it's different. You're not a real Punjabi. Yeah?
It's the motherland.
You're having Bacardi.
You've come 200 miles from home, and you're going to touch. And it's like, again, that to me was like, I did my research. Like, no, look, they can do what they can live their life they want to live. And I think, come back to what you mentioned, it's about respect. To talk about
no imposition.
If people don't like the way I live my life, or the way the Sikh live life, or anybody of any faith lives a life, I'm not doing any harm by following my faith. So what they're showing is a lack of respect, lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I'm not going to spend too much energy worrying about what they're thinking.
Or trying to, and I guess as you get older, I've definitely found this, when you're a young person who has an affinity to your faith, you just automatically go into kind of defending it and trying to convince people of it, right? And then, I know we've talked about this Baz loads, and then as you get older, it's like,
do what you want.
You do what you want. I'm gonna do what I want. As long as you don't impose on me, I'm definitely not going to impose on you.
And that's the thing.
Be happy, man. You don't want to believe in God, it's fine, man. Like, there's no
absolutely. And I think that's the thing, is what I'd say to any younger person is it's about respect. If you feel you're being shown lack of respect, is it really worth you worrying too much about what that person thinks? That for me is the big thing now, is that as you mentioned, when I follow my faith, I do it with respect. I would never try to force it on anybody else. Well, this is how I see as a Sikh live my life. Why don't you? I have to respect that's, if they're of a different faith or the same faith, whichever, they have their own views, and I've just got to respect that, even if I don't agree with it. As long as it's harming me or incurring into my life, then live and let live, as they say. If you got like the kids who tell you have to cut your hair, and obviously that is an issue for me, because they're trying to fundamentally change my identity. So my advice to the person would be, is if that is happening, then that's where you need to stand up to it, and that's where you need to turn to somebody to support you. You shouldn't ever feel like you have to take that on alone, which is probably what I had to do a lot of. But then there wasn't many people to turn to. Like a lot of parents, my parents had a shop that they were fully invested in, so you just sort of felt, I don't want to really bother them too much. And that there's that mentality when you're growing up, you don't turn to your parents because your parents go to school and you're rich, and then it just becomes more of a bunga.
Yeah. All these things, man. I mean, growing up is a interesting thing to navigate. We look back at it now, we reflect, and you kind of almost think, I often think, I was like, how the hell did I get through? And sort of, like, and kind of normal now.
Yeah.
When you have all these things in your head and you're thinking and you're trying to work out who you are. And
imagine trying to grow up today in today's world. I think we'd all turn out very differently.
I think, because now obviously I think it's the whole trolling thing. Is that's
the bad side, but the good side is you've got more access. So you, like in Baz, in your case, it's like, okay, you got young Singhs now who don't want to keep their hair, loads of people to talk to. But then like Indy saying, actually there's loads of stuff out there where it's like, nah, this is cool, I want to be like this, da 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 da.
See what I mean?
So even though there is more, it's actually I guess
more of everything.
Could be hard.
There's more, like you said, there's some very good, there's lot more material out there, and it's about filtering it. And it's about just, deciding what you're not going to read online or who you're going to follow. Pick the people you want to follow, that's fine. Just forget about the rest, because if you spend too much time trying to read everything online, you just never going to get on with your life, because there's too much. Everybody wants to shove their opinion down your throat. So for me, it's just sort of follow the right people, listen to the right things. And if you think, I don't like listening to the person, just switch it off.
That's it. The freedom to change, like you've said with your running.
It's the freedom.
Change the route. I'm going to take that, Baza. I love that. If I want to go down this road, I'm going to go down this road.
Yeah.
Like, literally, everything you've said in running applies to everything in life.
And I think that's probably why I do some things in life now. Because I think when I'm running, it sort of opens my mind. It's just, well, when I'm running, I'll take this risk, or when I'm running, I'm a bit more sensible about this sort of thing called even paced. I won't push too hard. That's how life should be. Why push too hard with something? Just take it easy, just relax.
I think you probably do the converse, where something happens in life and you probably ask yourself the question, what would I do if I'm running? Yeah. That's the question you need to ask. And then you probably ask ourselves,
what would Barry do?
What would Barry do?
You asked earlier on about what changes I've seen in myself.
Yeah.
So you're a lot more chill now. You don't seem to worry about anything. I've just realized there's no point. There's not worrying about too much about anything. Obviously, you have to work hard, and you have certain things you do have to concentrate on. But
that's a very interesting point, Bazo, as well. Early on, you talked about control, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so having control, but obviously, we've had deep, long discussions about, in Sikhi, we talk about hukam and bana, and everything is preordained, and there's obviously a certain degree of no control. Don't know when you die, don't know when you're born, don't know how many breaths, all of these things. So absolutely. How do you marry those two concepts in your head about having control and saying, actually, there is no control, or I'm not in control? Like, how do they balance for you?
I mean, I take my faith seriously. I think you do have a small amount of control. And I think it's like, so I'll listen to a bar, look at the translations, and listen to Hukam Rama, the Gait and Rabani, and I'll listen to Kathawajiks explain life and stuff. I take about everything they say, and I think you're right. The number of breaths we're going to take is already written, but there's still decisions that we do make about which paths to take, because every day in life is a test. It's just about being sensible. It's about questioning everything. I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning life. And how do you question things? We listen to Barney, study the Shri Granth Maharaj, listen to some of the Vajiks who explain things probably a lot better than other people can. And I think they're for both. I think you can have that control, you can have that freedom, but your faith can be a big part of what you do.
So the wisdom, I guess, is in knowing when you need to have control. Act and do something, and actually where you just like you said, I don't need to stress about this because there is no control. It's outside raining, or I guess you're different in that case. It's outside raining, me and Indy be like, we're not going to run. We've got no control. Whereas you're like, no, I'm still going to go run. I'm making the
I'm still going out.
He makes lemonade out of lemons.
Yes, that's it. Life gives you lemons.
Easier said than done, I think, in some cases. There's one part of the questionnaire. I'm just going to quote it back to you, Basler. I just want to just pick on this. You put, "My faith is a big part of who I am." I like that sentence. Unpack that for me. What is it that you mean by that? That's quite profound.
Yeah. So I think talking about what when I was as a kid, I didn't understand my faith, but I understood that people were picking on me because of my faith. So it became fundamental for me. When we were in Newcastle, you went to the Gurdwara every Sunday. The small Gurdwara, everybody went. There would be an account part. There'd be Gait, and once the Gait was done, you'd have Lunga, and that was it. The Gurdwara would be locked up after that. Any lunga that was left would be put into Tupperware boxes. You'd all take some home. And family that were still in shops, they'd be all brought lungas to have it. And that fascinated me about my faith. And it come back to it was just the fact that, as I mentioned, it was just like, to me, it was I didn't know enough about my faith. I went to Catholic school and I knew so much about Catholicism. I knew how to say the Hail Mary, but I didn't know how to do a Moon Mantra.
Okay.
Back and now I think that was quite bad. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. So I go to Catholic school, I can say Hail Mary, I can say the Our Father, I can recite a couple of hymns.
In heaven. Yeah.
So I go to God and they're doing an unsolved part, and I'm just sat there mute up until the age of 16 because I have no idea
coloring your book.
what's going on. So it was, for me, it became very important that I need to start to learn about my faith, why we were born to stand out. And then the more I learned, the more proud I became of who I was. And then obviously when I started wearing the star, that made me even more proud, even though people gave me even more stranger looks because it was unusual to see somebody wearing the star in Newcastle. But the more I went to university, and like I mentioned, all of a sudden guys have said to me, "Oh, you should be drinking." We were going out to this club and that club. So that's not my faith.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate. I think what really brought me close to my faith is when after I graduated, I went to India.
Okay.
And when I got to India, they said to us, "We're going to Hemkund Sahib."
Okay.
Now, I knew nothing about Hemkund Sahib. I didn't know anything about the history. I'd been to Harmandir Sahib. I'd been to a few of the Gurdwara in the Punjab.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you a lot, so I was like, I need to read about it.
That's your go-to thing, isn't it? If you don't know something, read it. Yeah.
So I borrowed a book, and then there was like a Gyani in Up End, and I went and sat with him, and he told me about Hemkund Sahib, and he told me about the history and a lot of other Gurdwaras as well, like Patna Sahib, and I was like, okay. I stayed in India for like 6 or 7 months after graduating.
Wow, this is a proper stint then.
That brought me close to my faith because that was like the first time I got to just, on a daily basis, learn about my faith.
Consistently, continuously,
being immersed in it. And I think so, as I got more and more into the faith, it made me proud that my younger self was able to stand up to people and say, "I'm not cutting my hair." And it's just like all of that. So my faith has to be important to me now, because why fight those battles when I was younger? If I'm not,
you double down on something, you got to stick to it now, man.
You went through all the hardships. Why are you going to like fuck out now?
When you got the freedom, right? And
that's why my faith is important. The other thing you probably when you probably first saw me running, I used to wear batka. I'd be very Montana style, wear batka when I'm running.
Yeah.
Years ago that changed, and I was like, I want to start wearing the star.
Blue the star.
So blue or orange the star. You'll always see me.
Yeah. Yellow t-shirt normally.
Yeah. So I wear this any race I do now. I wear the star because it's like I really want people to know that it's a Sikh running now.
Yeah. Okay. So you're championing that image now.
So I think it comes back to answer question. So after going through all those hardships, faith has to be important to me. Otherwise, what was the point of doing that? As you mentioned earlier on, it's about, if those things were meant to be, it was for me to find my faith. I was meant to go through the hard times. I'm to justify why I was keeping my hair long, why I was going to wear the star to all the people that were trying to bully me about it. And that was the fight I had to fight to really respect and understand my faith at this point in life.
Brilliant, Buzzer. So as we close this segment, we'll come on to our final segment in a second. If you're a young person listening to this podcast, don't think that many young people do listen to it, but if you are, and you're somebody who's a bit like, I wear a partika, my juda is always coming undone. This is something I had to do. I was playing cricket in the park. I used to have to run home. My mom, please do my juda so I can go back, right? My hair is messy. I think there's one time when my teacher at school just did it. She just did something, made a juda. I was happy. Like, it got me to the end of the day. If you're someone like that and you're just like, man, wouldn't it be easy? I'll tell you, you know what? I'll tell you what's popped into my head just now. It's the point for me. I don't think I ever contemplated cutting my hair, but the point where it was a bit frustrating was when we played rugby and everyone got in the shower and they could just do shampoo like this. and then the hair is done. And you're like, how do I avoid the shower? Or like, how do I not get my hair wet? Like, I don't know what to do with it. Or like swimming pool, like you put topi on, you come out and your hair's all like this. And you just, because you don't know how to wash it properly. You don't know how to use conditioner, hair dry. Like, these are advanced things when you're a young kid.
Yeah.
What do you say to that child, right, before they just make that decision and just, what's that interim step? What do you say to them?
What about not cutting the hair?
Yeah, maybe, yes. If they're contemplating that step, so rather than the next day just doing it.
Just to make life easier, basically.
Yeah, I'll go back to them and just say, learn about why you have Gait. Learn about, what some of our gurus went to defend our right to have the Gait and what it means, the way I did. And then if after you've learned it, you still feel it's the right thing to do, then no, I can't agree with it. I have to give you that freedom too, because I know people that when I was younger who cut their hair and then regrew it because they made a mistake. They were like,
one of our, I think our very good friends went through that.
Yeah, or one of our friends went through that. So
yeah,
and that might be that might be their journey. Is they're gonna have to mistake of cutting it, doing that behind the bee, to then realize years later shouldn't have done that, because that could be. So I would say educate yourself, and if you educate yourself, you still don't want to do it. Although I can't agree with it, it's your life.
There's a simple answer to some of your problems, Karan. Just wear a parka.
Which problem?
Simple answer, just wear a parka, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Which problems, sorry?
Jura coming loose, running around in the playground.
No, that was with the parka. I wasn't a Ramal Singh.
Weren't you?
Nah, man.
I was a Geordie Singh, man. It was sick.
No.
It was like a rhino horn. I'd like run into people. It was sick.
Yeah, that sounds a bit like what's the word? It sounds a bit bougie, but that was seen as a bit like no. You wear parka, you don't wear anything. That's just a bit like.
I was a Ramal Singh for a short while.
Was it white Ramal?
White Ramal, yeah.
I had a black one.
It didn't last long because that read the bullying.
That would get torn off easily.
Then it was like, oh, hanky head's here now.
Yeah, I can see that.
What did I have? I had once from a neighbor. And it was a neighbor's cousin, so they weren't there all the time. Again, a Sikh, right? But like cut hair, Baza. He went to me, "Oi, you got that dick on your head." And I was just like, mate, I was like, you're Sikh as well, man. Like, we both got good daughter. Yeah. You kind of know in it. Like, even if you don't know,
Hold on.
Know,
a Singh said this to you. What?
No, it wasn't a Singh, it was Sikh. So he cut hair.
Yeah.
It was on my neighbor's there. But my point is, he's still Sikh, right?
Yeah.
He still knows. He knows.
I classify them as a Singh too, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. I guess the colloquial term, when you use Singh, you actually mean like full Gait.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But either way, he was like, yeah, dickhead in it. And I was just like, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's just.
But then I remember once there was a kid in my primary school who, I don't know if it was a little more like impersonation. We used to have these duffel coats we had to wear as part of our school uniform in the winter, and you put the duffel coat on, and then the little football you play with, he'd put it there to make it look like a Jura.
Yeah.
And then I saw him, and he was like, "I just want to be like you," and I was like, "Wow." See, that's the other side, right? He was fascinated, didn't really understand why he liked it. And obviously I wasn't at that point in my life where I could explain the significance of this as well. So I was just like, it's a good man. Obviously the next day, he only did it for a day. But these funny things that happen to us, man. It's really interesting how they shape our lives. Okay, on to our final segment, Baza. Lighter subject. So most of you won't know, I'm not sure, Indy, if you know, but Baz has been on the Weakest Link and won the Weakest Link. Which is pretty awesome and impressive. So this area of your life, acting, radio, just doing all this cool shit, man. Like how do you get into these things, man? How do you get into them? What enjoyment do you get from them? What's the reason you go into them? Just talk about
it's simple.
Space.
It's when they were driving down the street and they're like, "That's you sing."
You sing,
that's it, man.
It's interesting actually because my first TV appearance, I hadn't started running yet. So it was on the Paul O'Grady show. When he was on ITV, so he had like a tea time show.
Yeah,
right.
And somebody said to me, "Oh, Paul O'Grady."
Oh, wait, one sec. Pause, Buzzer. I just thought of something. You're from up north, right?
Yeah.
Right. In the middle of the day, what is the name of the meal that you eat?
Dinner.
Oh, and what's the thing you eat in the evening?
Tea.
Oh, do you still do this, by the way? Are these still your terms?
Yeah.
It's not lunch. What is the definition of lunch?
Oh, no, I never use lunch. It was always dinner time at school. It was never lunchtime. It was dinner time.
Indy, someone said to me recently, which I find really hard to argue with. They said, what is the name of the people that serve you?
Yeah, I know. Dinner ladies, lunch
Dinner
ladies.
ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just
yeah.
oh, I don't know what to say back to that. We used to call them dinner ladies as well, but yeah, lunch and okay, yeah, just checking. So you're definitely a proper up and all the way.
Proper enough,
Anyway, getting back to your story, man. I just had to ask you that.
That's fine. So yeah, Paul O'Grady was on like Tea Time TV at the time. And
yeah.
he was the putting out, and he wanted normal people to attend film premieres. Somebody at work said to me, "Oh, you should go for that. You like a bit of a laugh and you films." I was like, "I'll never happen." He's going to put a Sikh on daytime TV, Tea Time TV. For the audition, so went along to the audition. Like, okay, done it. Who would you like to interview? What would you ask them? That sort of stuff. I forgot about it. 3 weeks ago, I got a phone saying, "Do you fancy coming down to London for the film premiere of Get Shorty," which was the
the
film premiere of Be Cool, which was a sequel to Get Shorty.
Yeah.
It was a film with John Travolta, which was a surprise hit. I was like, "Yeah, I'll come down for that." And he goes, "So we want to come down. You're going to watch the film on the Sunday. On the Monday, you're going to go to Leicester Square for the red carpet event. You can get to interview John Travolta and The Rock, Uma Thurman, and
The Rock.
Yeah,
The Rock was in the film.
The Rock was in the film. He's like his first major film.
Wait. You were going to watch the film.
Yeah.
Then the next day, you were going to get to interview the cast.
Yeah.
This was the gig.
This was the gig. So on the Sunday, ITV paid for it. So watched the film.
Yeah.
On the Monday evening, Leicester Square, met with like the camera person and the producer. Like these are some like examples of questions we think you should ask them, and like as well as the film stars, there'll be some like British TV personalities. So we'll try and grab some. Thinking, yeah, I can do this, and that John Travolta rocks up. And this is like one of the world's biggest and coolest movie stars.
Yeah.
They were like, they said, "Oh, just ask him why he's so cool." And he's like, he's down to it. So Hamza and Uma Thurman came up, and then you're like, Christina Milian, who's a singer who's in the film, and Alicia Dixon, Friends Got Talent, she was there. Then The Rock rolls up, and you're like, Rock. This time it's like this was his first major film appearance, so he wasn't the big movie star he is now.
Yeah.
But then but he's still famous because he's
the wrestler. He's the wrestling Rock.
Yeah.
He's the wrestling Rock. But in the film, he plays a dancer. So and so like there's like saying to him, "We want you to try and get him to dance," and you're thinking, "You want me to try and get The Rock to dance?"
He's gonna rock bottom me, man.
Right. So like we hit upon an ingenious idea. So when The Rock came up to me and he's like, you look at him, he's like, "Oh, cool outfit." And he goes, "Have you ever heard of Bhangra dancing?"
You said this.
Yeah. And he goes, "Bhangra dancing." He goes, "Yeah, it's from North India, from the Punjab, Bhangra dancing." So doing a few moves. And he goes, that's so he did a few moves. There's a Rock's Bhangra dancing on the red carpet, and I'm like,
So where's this clip, man? I need to see this.
Oh, I need to find. I've got it on like a DVR recorder somewhere, so I need to
find it, please.
Is it on YouTube?
That's content the world needs to
I've
see,
had a
man.
look. I can't find it, but I've had a look on ITV's archives, and I'll get down. Don't worry, we'll get it.
If you find it, you got to tag Look a Sing. You got to tag every single Punjabi meme account. Put it up, man. I'm telling you.
So then I did that, and then I did a couple more for Paul O'Grady, and then was contacted about being a TV extra.
On the back of this?
On the back of this, is like, there's hardly any Singhs that are TV extras. Yes, Singhs are such a part of like London and Birmingham, Midlands. So it's bad that there's like one
representation.
At the time, there's no representation. So okay, I'll do it. So I started doing a lot of BBC stuff like Casualty and Hustle and Being Human, lots and lots of BBC dramas, a couple for ITV and Sky. So I did that for a good 6 or 7 years. At this time, I started getting into a running as well.
How regular was that work?
I was doing like once a fortnight, once every 3 weeks, because in the Midlands, I was the only Sikh with a turban and beard, like long beard.
Right.
So, I did things like Shameless, which is quite funny, up in Manchester and Mount Pleasant. So I did quite well out of it.
Okay. Is it well paid work?
I wouldn't say it's well paid. It's one of the, I think because I'm a runner, you spend most time sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this thing about, if you've ever seen Extras, the TV series Ricky Gervais says, you sit around mostly doing nothing, and then be like, okay, you come here, we want you to, like, in this scene, walk from A to B.
Yeah.
You do it every time there's a retake, and then when they're finished, okay, go back. We might use you, we might not. So you might only be used for like 10, 15 seconds.
But you're paid for the day.
You're there for 10 hours, and that could be all you do. So it does require a lot of patience and just being prepared to sit around and do nothing, which is when you were getting into running wasn't ideal, but
no. Yeah.
as a runner, you have a lot of patience, so I've found it easy to do. And I'd listen to Nabs and listen to Barney sometimes because you knew there was going to be big gaps when there's nothing to do. So it was kind of cool, but it's come back to your point. I did it for one, then I got bored of it. I was like, yeah, I can't do this. TV extra like anymore. Now people say to me, "Don't you regret it now because there's so many Sikhs that you see on TV?" And I'm like, I had my time. My time because I was getting called by directors and stuff because we want Barry to come on.
Bloody hell, like first name basis.
Yeah, so I'd get directors like the best one I can give you is if you've ever seen Line of Duty.
Yeah.
So the first series of Line of Duty was filmed in Birmingham before the movie.
It was. Yeah, Aston Uni.
Yeah. So the agency I was with, they called me up and said that there's 3 days work on Line of Duty, and the director's asked you for personally because he goes, you're the only Sikh he knows. And he knows and he trusts you to turn up, he trusts you to be quiet.
Oh, I love it.
Doing it. I was like, yeah, I'll come be in Line of Duty. So I did 3 days of Line of Duty, and I was sent to me like, you gotta watch Line of Duty, it's brilliant, it's gonna be like a brilliant TV show.
Yeah,
whatever. And then it came out and people were like, yeah, that was a good TV series.
Yeah.
It was a good TV series.
Bloody hell. I love how he was like, it's the only Sikh I know. That was brilliant.
And then how did it get to the weakest link?
So that started in that in 2006. In about 2008, I was working with a lady and she happened to appear on the weakest link. And she got to the last 4, so she didn't embarrass herself. She got to the last 4. It's one of those things people at work were like taking the mick out of her. Oh, Linda, you could have done better than that. You could have gotten all the way to the final. You voted for the wrong person and this, that. And she in good humor, she turned around and she goes, I'd like to see one of you lot do better.
Yeah, exactly.
You're giving it all that. Come on, you guys start by about 4 of us applied for it. And 2 of us got on eventually. And so what it is, they came to Birmingham, they did the audition. So they did like a mock round, they checked your general knowledge. Because what they do is when send you on the show, they put people with similar general knowledge ability on. So
okay.
So they want people that have similar ability, so it's not easy to work out who's
the weakest link.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's actually quite clever. Yeah.
So I did the audition and I got a call saying, okay, we want you to come and film in August at Pinewood Studios, which is where they filmed it.
Oh, Pinewood. Okay, yeah.
So we rock up at Pinewood Studios, which is very tight security because obviously all the big films are being done at
Pinewood is Surrey, isn't it?
It's near, just outside Slough.
Slough. Okay. Yeah.
Slough, just off the M40. But what they did is, it's a fascinating day because they filmed 3 episodes every day.
Oh wow!
You think about it, used to be on 5 days a week. So
yeah, regular.
That's to get a good bank of episodes in. Yeah.
So they filmed 3 episodes. So when I got there for 11:30, so they just finished filming the first episode of the day, and then the people for the second one were about to go, and then we went in and I made a big rookie mistake when I applied for Week. And they told me this afterwards is I gave them too much detail about my life.
So Anne
Robinson's.
So I gave them too much. Like, I've done theatre acting, I've done this, I've done that, working IT, I've done this. So I gave them too much ammunition.
You giving it the bump, you're like, yeah, I'm big.
Yeah, and what happened is another guy, he hardly gave anything away.
Yeah.
So like on the day, so they check all the facts. Is this fact correct? Is this fact correct? Yeah, that's all correct. Then they put you in that room. These 9 people I've never met before. We spent 3 hours with each other by that point, and then put you into the studio and you take your position. You introduce yourself, and she walks on, bang, straight into that first round. And our first round is one of those unique ones where everybody got their question right.
Ooh.
We got round, but what happened was the guy at the beginning didn't twig that we'd all got our first question right, so he forgot to say bank. So if he'd got his question wrong, we'd have lost the lot. So fortunately, he got the second question he was asked right, but it didn't make. There's no more money to bank because we got to the £1,000. So the next person said bank, and about 6 of us voted for him. Though he was technically the weakest link because he answered 2 questions. He was the weakest because he wasn't paying attention to the fact that he'd forgot to bank.
Oh my days!
He was fuming when he went off. So,
yeah. Oh, what a way to go!
And then what happened was at the end of the first round, she's. What happens is that what they show on TV is only a fraction of how much she roasts people. She like really spends time on. And then they put the best bits on TV. So she hasn't got this one woman. Then she turns around to me and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And then they say to her, don't answer back. The more you answer back, the more she's going to
go in.
So I just rolled with her. I had a bit of a laugh with her. I thought, okay. And then I'm like, Really married the gay. That's me done. That's it. She's not going to pick
No, before that, Bazza, what did she like? What was her bits that she got in?
She picked on the acting and the IT stuff, and she goes, "Oh, you think you're a runner?" And I wasn't in running shape at that point.
Yeah.
So she really, really went for it. So the second round finishes, and I'm stood there nice and relaxed, thinking, "Well, Anne Robinson's already had me, so I'm just going to pick 3 other people." The next thing she says my name again, and you can see a look of shock on my face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "This isn't what's meant to happen. This isn't how the weakest link works. You don't pick
It's not scripted. Unscripted.
And then she goes through my IT job, and then she goes through the acting thing. How can you play a bishop on stage when you're a Sikh and all this sort of stuff? And then I said something, and she smiled at the end. And at the end of the third round, the producer came over and she goes, "We're really, really, really sorry, because it wasn't your name that should have come out there. It was somebody else's. She's not meant to pick on the same person twice." He goes, "That's no consolation whatsoever to me now, because she's completely rinsed me."
Yeah.
And I suppose the only good thing that came out is I got to the final and won. But I was the weakest link in 1 round, but I got away with it, and I was the strongest link in 2, I think.
Sorted.
Oh.
But we got
off. Yeah.
But what happened is off air, everybody that got voted out first doesn't get. So the only people that get to meet are the people that make the final.
Oh, as final being the final 4 or
the final 2?
Final 2. Oh, okay. And what was she like?
She's lovely off screen.
Oh, okay. So she's not like just sarcastic all the time.
I've seen clips of her getting rinsed by people on the weakest link. Like there's this one episode of this one guy who just bites back at her again and again, and she can't take it. And I'm like, oh, that made me feel really warm inside because she always came across.
She's human. She's human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she can be quite vicious, and I think that's why it didn't take off in America as much, because the Americans took it too personally.
Yeah.
Here's that thing where we
start storming off stage,
stiff upper lip.
We're just like, I'll just roll with it. But
it's like when you see these, Gordon Ramsay goes in these places and fixes places or whatever.
Yeah.
And you see these guys go, "I'm not going to stand here, take this shit from you," and he's like storms out.
He goes, "It's raw. It's fucking raw.
Yeah.
You fucking donkey." Right? Oh my god.
My dog would eat this shit.
Yeah. It's exactly that. It's just But I mean, that was how I ended up on the weakest thing. It was just a silly conversation in the office about, let's say you go on and do better. And then when it finally got aired, because it filmed in August but didn't get aired till November. So I finished filming, and my mum had gone down to Slough because my mum's cousin lives there. And I walked in the house.
Yeah.
They tried not to tell anybody how you got on. And I walked in the house. My mum said, "How did you?" Because I did okay. I didn't face myself.
Yeah.
Driving back up the M40, she goes, "How did you do?" And I was okay. "I'll tell you, but you can't tell anybody else." I goes, I won.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Why didn't you got it? This your mum."
Yeah, I was gonna stage secretary. ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਸੰਗਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਛੋਟਾ ਸੀ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਹੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਬਾਲ ਕੱਟ ਲਾ ਇਸ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਵੀਕੈਸਟ ਲਿੰਕ ਜਿੱਤ ਗਿਆ ਸਟਰੋਂਗੈਸਟ ਲਿੰਕ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ
yeah. And then we got home, so told my wife, told my dad, I lied to my sister, lied to all my cousins and who going on. And then I changed job roles between when I did the job and when it aired. And so I said, okay, at work, I said, by the way, guys, I was on the weakest link. The episode's airing tonight.
Yeah.
And this was just when Facebook had took off. So people were watching and people were commenting, "Oh, Barrett, good round, good knowledge." Or it'd be like, terrible answer.
Yeah.
Wow, you're strong. I think samosas are on you tomorrow. So I thought, okay, I'll take some samosas in.
Yeah.
And I remember this one guy walks into the office who hadn't watched it, wasn't aware of what happened. He walks up to me. He's like, thought he was being really clever. He's like, "Okay, Barry Cheema, you are the weakest link. Goodbye." Haha. And he walks and everybody's looking at him like,
he won.
Stu, you do know he won. He's like, "I beg your pardon. You do know he won." He's like, "You won?" He's like, "Yeah, I won." "Oh." And I'm thinking, yeah.
You're like, "No samosa for you."
Yeah.
Give me that samosa back.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what a funny guy. So I guess, Bazza, the only logical next question after that is, when are you applying to The Apprentice?
No.
Come on, Bazza. Come on, these idiots, man.
I've got no business acumen whatsoever. And I think one of the issues with reality TV
Baz, it's just about being sensible.
Baz, I don't think they have any business accolades either, mate.
This is true, yeah. I think it's interesting. We're talking about this at work today about the very first reality shows like Big Brother and stuff. We all watched the first reality shows because it was people being normal.
Yep.
Then it evolved into reality shows are a platform to
idiots.
Yeah.
Idiots. And I think that's just not for me because I'd be too much of a straight talker. So I'd be straight out.
I saw a guy I follow on Twitter today. He pretty much summarized it. He said, imagine having a kid and then 25 years into it, they come up to you and say, I want to go on Love Island.
Yeah.
And he said, I'd disown him on the spot. And I'm like, I get it. I get it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Indy, we're like, we don't have kids, and we're like, no, that's just not acceptable, man.
It's not acceptable.
Sorry.
That is never ever.
Can't see that. No.
Where I do kind of see you, Baz, though, is I don't know if it's a space you've kind of thought about is stand-up comedy, man. Like, you know, like kind of Ramesh, Ranganathan, like your comedy, man. I'm telling you, there's no one that looks like you. Yeah, that's a space I'd love to see you in, man. Do some comedy.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I'd like to give everything a try at least once. Done the TV, done like the extra work and the quiz shows. So
no, you have done it all, and
I'll keep you posted.
No, honestly, if you do a show, even if you start like the Glee, wherever it might be, Indy and I will be there.
Shout us, man. We'll happily be there.
We will be there to support that. And again, Baz, so for this segment, it's the young generation. And sorry, and the reason why I keep coming back to this is the whole premise of this podcast is really to find people with unique stories and journeys, and to really champion that, to show, like you said, everyone has their own path. You can work it out. It's not going to be the straight line. It's not, I presume your life isn't as you planned it. If you had a plan, I didn't have a plan.
No one's is.
And the other big thing was to kind of get away from this. Definitely my generation. I don't know if it's the same for your generation, but you have to be a doctor, dentist, lawyer, thing. If you enjoy it and you like it, fine, absolutely fine. If you don't, then look, there is so much stuff you can do in the world and be happy and all these things. So with your talent to explore, what is the wisdom that you would give the next generation when about that kind of thing?
I think there's nothing wrong with going out and trying different things. As we said, it's about just maintaining your identity. So I would never do anything that goes against my faith. One example I'd give is I remember being asked about being in a toothpaste advert.
Right.
Like, I can do that. And then it's like the agency came back and said, they really, really want in the advert, but they've got one request. Then you think, what's the request? It goes, they want you to trim some of your mustache, maybe a little bit of your beard.
So you can see your teeth.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because
from their point of view, they're trying to be really logical, aren't they?
Yeah. But then what angered me was when she said, well, think of the money. Because it's the commercials. Commercials were the big
thing. Big money back then, yeah.
I go, it's not about money for me because I just can't do it. I goes, there might be other Sikhs that are prepared to do stuff like that. There's Sikhs that do trim the beards and stuff. That goes, if you really want to Sikh, they're the people you need to come from. But for me personally, I'm not prepared to do that just for that. So if people is up to maintain your dignity, there's nothing wrong in saying no if you want to maintain things that are true to your faith. Other opportunities will arise. And I think that's the most important thing for me is that I try, whatever I do is to always do things that don't go against my faith, don't embarrass my faith, because we have seen that happen. And then if I have made a mistake, is to re-educate myself and come back stronger. And
brilliant, Baz. I think this episode is definitely it's definitely about resilience, I would say, but it's been scattered with humor all the way through, which is nice because you've come through all this stuff, but you look at it in a really kind of that was my life kind of way, which I think is really, really cool. And I hope you've enjoyed this experience of being on the podcast.
That's been brilliant. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, thanks for jumping on, brilliant. The only final question I have for you, Bazza, is on your form. We always ask our guests to sort of nominate another guest so we can carry this trend on. Yeah. You mentioned somebody called Sandy Shoka.
Yeah.
So without going into like another podcast talking about them, what is it about them that inspires you?
I met Sandy about 4 years ago, and she's an incredible person who champions good causes. And the cause that she got me into was a young girl called Anaya Kaur, who's from Newcastle, so from my neck of the woods, and she needed a kidney.
Okay. And
Sandy has done a lot of work championing organ donation in the Sikh community, and she was quite instrumental in making a lot of awareness at Gurdwara, Sikh events around the country about organ donation, and in Lyre in particular. And there's a lady called, I can't remember her name, but she works for the NHS as it happens in Yorkshire. She was she was a match for an eye, of course, so the kidney transplant happened. And then she's spoken in the House, not in the House of Commons, she's spoken to MPs about donation and the whole thing about, organ donation should be compulsory unless you opt out as opposed to, you have to opt in.
Opting in, yeah.
So she does a lot of incredible work with that child. She's done works with DKMS about stem cell donation. She's a lot of selfless saver, I would say she does, in raising awareness for that and many other causes. A lot of drive, a lot of passion. And then recently here in Morse, we had another girl called Simran Kaur who needed kidney transplant. Again,
yes, I actually know that person.
Who you may know. So Sandy again got very instrumental in helping that family, sharing knowledge with them again. Very fortunate Simran got a donor as well.
Yeah.
Over at Kickton, we were planning an event at Waltz of Godfather, at other events, and unfortunately COVID happened, so we were worried she wouldn't get her match, but fortunately she did. So I think Sandy's an example of somebody who has a lot of passion and drive, and once she commits to something, she really goes on. She has made a difference, I think, with organ donation, that awareness, and some of the selfless service she's done.
No, that's exactly what we're looking for on this podcast. Sometimes people recommend guests and they're not really what we're looking for. But obviously you can only recommend who you know. But that sounds like definitely something we haven't explored, and definitely something probably not really talked about as much in our community, organ donation. So definitely we're going to reach out. We'll probably ask you to make an introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, because I can't remember if she got into it because she had personal experience or whether she was just
drawn to
story, which I think is even more incredible if that was the case.
Yeah.
Personal connection, just to say, I'm going to help make that difference.
Brilliant. Any final questions for you, Indy?
No, all good, man.
Baza, I'll give you the final words. What is it you want to leave our listeners with?
Just be yourself. Don't be afraid to go out and try new things. Like to say, you have one life, live it. There will always be challenges, but if your faith is strong, if you have belief in yourself, you have good people around you, then you can achieve your dreams.
That's it. And Baz needs to be on The Apprentice. Yeah, perfect. We'll start a campaign. Indy actually does marketing, so Indy run the ad, and we'll see if we can get some traction. And then you sing for Apprentice, you sing for MP, you sing for PM. Yes.
I think Barinderjit will have some words about that first work.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for making it this far, guys. Please drop us a like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And we'll catch you next week. Cheers.